Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this edition of Unpopular Review. While you're at it, why don't you give us a follow on these beautiful social media platforms known as Facebook and Twitter at Unpopular Review. But there's another one. Give us a follow on Instagram. We got funny pictures, we got updates, and we have things where we tell you everything that's going on. So why don't you give us a follow on Instagram at unpopular.review. And now, back to the show.
I was enjoying that song. It's a classic, Club Nouveau, I believe that is. In the 80s, 1989, Lean on Me, not my pick. I'm super jealous because I didn't do it, but we got to show the man respect. I'm going to start with Sam's, whose pick it is tonight. Sam's, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Fantastic. I'm ready to talk about East Side High. Very excited. May you rest in peace, Joe Clark.
There you go. We have C the Superior. C, what are you doing?
Just hanging out with you guys tonight, talking about a movie.
Now, see, it's I don't know if you've been following our Twitter, which I hope everybody at home watching is, but it's been discussed what you drink every episode. So what are you drinking tonight?
Tonight, I'm drinking some mint tea that actually just finished, so I'm going to transfer over to water in my cup.
Water. Yeah. Is it strong water or regular water?
It's regular, good old spring water from Giant.
She saves the hard water for the hard movies. We're going to bring in Mr. Napier himself, the executive consultant. Sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing quite excellent, man. How are you?
I am doing well. As you know, I'm the HNIC tonight, and as always, we have a comment very early in the show. Let's put it up on the screen by Christopher Harris. I know him. Hello, everyone.
That's a good dude right there. He's still here every single week. He's going to win Fan of the Year.
And can I just say, he's consistent with his comment. He always opens it up with "Hello, everyone."
He's polite.
Not to be confused with in previous episodes where only some were entertained with a hello. Let me jump into the synopsis, and then I'm going to throw it over to Sam's, whose pick it was, and he's going to tell us why he picked this movie. But here's the synopsis for 1989, Lean on Me. After failing to meet the state's required school proficiency exams for years, Eastside High School is threatened with being taken over by the state. Overridden with drugs, violence, and apathy, Joe Clark works alongside the last remaining teachers to help the students pass the exam that will determine all their fates. And Vic, you picked this movie. Why did you pick this movie?
First of all, I picked this movie because and I think that he might have been the last person to pass away in 2020. Okay. But the infamous Joe Clark, the person that this movie is about mainly, he unfortunately passed away recently, and out of respect for him, hey Charmaine, out of respect for him and respect for everything that he's done and how influential he was, I really wanted to cover this movie. And honestly, I grew up watching this movie on Channel 11 over and over the years. This must have been probably the 20th time that I've seen this movie, and loved it every time. Very inspirational. So, we can just get into the good and the bad, the likes and the dislikes, the ups and the downs of this movie. So I'll go first because there's so much to like. I guess I'll just start with what I didn't like. All right. In the beginning of the movie, when they're doing the Welcome to the Jungle part, where you kind of see how the school is deteriorated. The scene where the girl in the bathroom gets beat up and they rip all her clothes off and beat the crap out of her, and then the students start touching onto the teacher. I didn't think that was necessary. They definitely, I feel like they definitely were trying to tell a story, but I didn't think that I felt like that was a little bit excessive. I didn't think that part of it was necessary. And then the other part was when they pretty much just killed off Kid Ray. I understood.
Spoiler alert.
What?
Did they show? Do they confirm that, or they just
no, they didn't. I'm just saying that. But like, what I mean is just that, like, because the thing is that they kind of introduce him as a character, like, as a character that's probably going to be revitalized later on in the movie, right? Because Morgan Freeman, I mean, Joe Clark has a lot of interactions with him. And it looks like he's going to be one of the characters that, probably comes out of this. But unfortunately, when he decided to drop out, it was heartbreaking. I just didn't like it because that whole thing about it was just heartbreaking. It is every time, because you could see that Kid Ray has a lot of promise. All right, so now to what I did like about this movie, and that was the hard part, because it's so hard to pick. With this movie. Now, from the beginning, just the opening credits, just the song "Welcome to the Jungle." I love that song, so that was part of it. But even like the meeting that they had prior to it, when he stood on the table and then he bent over, and he was very animated about everything that he was saying, about him not being pacified and used by the board. But then, he ended up getting sold out. And what I loved is that he took $1 out of his pocket, put it on the white man's forehead, and he said, "Here you go. Love your money." You know what I mean? And that was awesome. All right, next, when he found Sam's and his cousin and the 4 guys in the bathroom, and just that whole scene right there, right before he went to go speak to Mrs. Powers, you could see in his face that he was expecting just something horrible when he asked them to sing the school song. And then when they came out with that school song, you could see the look on his face, because it was amazing. And you could see, like, this is shocking. Like, you know what I mean? And then he went and took Sam's and took them over to Mrs. Powers. And then, he started yelling at her, and everybody in the classroom was looking at him like, what the hell's going on? And then all of a sudden he just says, "Mrs. Powers, take a bow. You've rewritten our alma mater." And everybody in the school just started, cheering and smiling. And you could see that he was really resonating with the kids. Like, oh man, like this whole movie is just inspirational. A lot of the other part that I like, the part that I like the most, honestly, is the roof part, when Sam's and Mr. Clark meet up in front of the school, and Sam's is trying to get back into the school, and then he takes Sam's up to the roof and tells Sam's, "You smoke crack, don't you? Well, you're killing yourself. You're killing your brain cells every day. If you're gonna kill yourself, don't fuck around and just jump and do it expeditiously." That hit hard. That's literally the part of the movie that is on the poster. Man, I loved it. And there's so much more. When he fired the music teacher, when he was sitting in the jail cell and said, "I don't got to do shit but stay black and die," like that. Man, you know what? Let me move on, because I'm gonna be here all night telling you everything that I like. But
I believe you.
Yeah, I really like this movie. Like, so I'll watch it.
You gonna save some scenes for the rest of us?
Yeah, I will. There's some more. I'm sorry. Let me shut up. Let me mute myself. All right.
Who would like to go next?
Ladies and gentlemen, it was the best of scenes. It was the worst of scenes. And what Sam just did was give you, it was the best of scenes, the worst of scenes, quotables, recasted, final thoughts. He gave you the host of, he did so many things just now that he actually added his own segments into this show. I don't even know what those segments are called. We'll just call it Vic. Ladies and gentlemen, this movie, and I'll actually do the opposite of what Vic did. Vic said he's seen this movie about 20 times. He loves this movie. Clearly, he's went over it over and over and over and over again in a repetitious ramble about why he loved this movie. I, on the other hand, have not seen this movie before. Today was the very first day I have seen this movie. Now, that doesn't mean I want to wear this movie, the synopsis of this movie, and a lot of the quotes that came from this movie. People get pregnant every day, B. But the thing of this movie is this, right? There were a lot of good scenes and there were some not so good scenes. So Vic mentioned earlier today about the opening sequence. Welcome to the Jungle is the theme that was played. I thought, even though I understood the mechanics behind it, I understood the meaning behind it, I thought the song was not appropriate for what this movie was trying to portray. And what I mean by that is the type of music for this, the type of music that song portrays, I thought was a little out of place for that particular movie. But I understood the reasoning behind it. You know, welcome to the jungle. Clearly, the place is the jungle. Animals are running wild. And I use the word animals loosely, but I mean, they were all over the place. There was no even point in having adults there. It was just awful. It was terrible. You know, I know it was exaggerated for a movie, but it was crap. So I didn't like that. I didn't like when Mr. Clark came into the gym or the conference room, or whatever you want to call it, and he saw the same thing. Jungle, people hanging out all over the place. It's like they were storming the Capitol. It was ridiculous. Could not stand it. So I was not a fan of that particular scene. I was not a fan of Mr. Joe Clark standing on somebody's desk and showing his butt. I did not think that was appropriate. And it was just a little bit weird to me, you know, like, hey, have some kind of decorum, have some kind of professionalism. Now, that was my bad scenes. Here's some we get for some good scenes. I actually, Vic uses a word. I always tease when people use the same word over and over again. Here's the word that Vic always uses. Good movie, but what didn't make sense to me, they had some cleanup school, and then they criticized his methods. We'll get more into that later. But here's what I did like about the movie. There was a lot of characteristics from Crazy Joe, Batman, Mr. Clark, whatever you want to call him, that I actually saw a little bit of my style with, right? Here's what I mean, okay? He had a meeting. This is my favorite scene. First thing he did when he comes in, he had a meeting, and he said exactly what I expect done and how we are going to get there. It's called goals, right? Goals. That's what he did. Loved it. Only problem I had with it is, unfortunately, what bothers me about this is the fact that, you know, I see it and I see a little bit of myself from it. In 2021, that would not fly. In 2021, he would have automatically been fired. Because in 2021, we've become so sensitive with anything. And Mr. Joe's style was very, very aggressive, and people cannot handle it. Why? Because unfortunately, in 2021, and we'll bring them out early, people have turned into this. And they can't handle it. And no one knows that more than me, because if you worked with me, Mr. Best, you know my style is very aggressive and very strong.
I found it to be comedy. I found it to be comedy. We laughed at people. It was enjoyable. Correct.
But I also got a lot of complaints. And I dealt with
that my entire career. I thought it was comedy.
You didn't. You didn't. You know why you didn't? Because you're not one of these guys. That's why. Okay? Unfortunately, in 2021, there are a lot of them. So I had to deal with that. Another good scene is I had, and I'm going to resonate this a little sometime with James. Anybody who's a friend of mine, right? Whether it be James, whether it be Chrissy, never Vic, but whether it be that guy that's sitting on the damn couch over there. Anybody who deals with me knows that my personality, once again, is very strong, right? And I'm very aggressive, right? And I'm very, they use the word stubborn. I won't say stubborn. I will say opinionated, right? So the scene where he and his boss, I forgot his name, were actually arguing because his boss said, Napier. Hey, when he brought it to attention, Napier, hey, tone it down a notch, right? And Joe was not listening, right? Joe had this wall up like, look, mofo, you knew what time it was when you hired me. You knew what I was going to do. Don't sit here and act brand new. And then he reminded him like, hey, you know what? We may be boys. I am still the boss. And I am actually the real HNIC. Loved it, because even though I always say that, and Vic knows this possibly better than anyone, even though I'm very opinionated, even though I do believe I'm right most of the time, I always second guess myself, not because I don't believe that I'm right, but because I always want a second opinion in case that perhaps I could have did something differently or I could be incorrect. And in that scene, which happened actually frequently in this movie, because it happened also with the assistant principal, he took a step back and said, you know what, perhaps this person is right and maybe I should try a different approach. Because I also didn't agree with him firing the football coach that he demoted and stuff like that. I thought he was being a little bit ridiculous with that one. But the reason why I'm mentioning this scene, and then I'm done, the reason I'm mentioning this scene is simply because of this. At the end of it, and no one knows this better than James in this media group, at the end of it, the guy walked over the thing, He looked at James. I'm sorry, James. I'm saying this because I'm personalizing it. He looked at him and he said, "Let's go get something to eat." And that's it. Business
That
is
was
business.
great.
Personal is personal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every single one of my
very good
closest
point.
friends, every single one of my closest friends, I've gotten into arguments with all of them because I'm Chris. All right, that's the line. That's what I'm known for. I'm Chris. But at the end of the day, it's never personal. We have an opinion. You have an opinion. We disagree. We may argue. We may yell. We may bicker. You know, I might turn your wheelchair upside down. I don't know. But we're at the end of the day. That was just that conversation. Let's move on to the next thing. It's a brand new day. Let's get something to eat. Let's go to IHOP. Let's go to Denny's house for Stephen Pena if he's still in there. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's my best stuff and that's my worst stuff. And we'll go ahead and see you Superior next.
All right. So much like Vic, Mr. Executive gave us his recasted. He gave us his quotables. He gave us everything else.
I did not.
This is the theme. So I'm going to see if I can stick to the segment, or maybe not. We'll see what I want to do. But my least favorite scene, since we're doing least favorite first, was probably the scene that Vic mentioned about the girl in the bathrooms and she's getting beat up by all the girls, and you know her top comes off somehow.
They ripped her clothes off.
Yeah, they ripped her clothes off in the obligatory nude topless scene. You know, even though it's like a high school girl, I guess they hit it, but still,
well, she's not
it's just.
really,
I mean, no,
you know, a minor.
You know, the thing about that whole thing was that it was very accurate.
Yeah,
but it wasn't necessary.
I agree with Vic. I don't want to cut you up, Chrissy. Continue, but I'll touch on it when you finish. Go ahead, please.
Well, I'll just say when I was in high school, I'd never seen anybody had their shirt ripped off and running through the halls to escape a fight. I've never seen that. I've never experienced that, especially with girls. But I just thought it was thrown in there just to have, like, you know, a little quote unquote nude scene. I didn't like that much. I didn't like the way Mr. Clark kind of singled out, what's his name, Sam's in the cafeteria when he was looking a little sloppy and stuff, because you never know what someone's like home environment is. You don't know what his, you know, financial situation is. So I thought that was a little mean to kind of single him out in that way and talk about how he looked sloppy and everything in front of the whole school or the whole cafeteria. I didn't like that. But as far as things that I did like,
I love that scene.
I'll touch on this later during my turn. Chrissy, please continue. Go ahead.
So I also like the unlike Chris, I did like the fact that they used the, you know, Welcome to the Jungle. I like that song by itself. But even though it's a rock song, you know, there are people that listen to rock from the hood. I feel like it was tonally, it fit. And I also liked this scene when Sam comes up to him to try to get his position back in the school when he tries to, you know, get readmitted, because I really enjoyed that scene. I like the, what was another scene? There was so many other scenes that I enjoyed, but I can't think of them right now. Well, I'll just end it there. Those were my favorite scenes, my least favorite scenes. But yeah, short and sweet. This is my first time seeing the movie. Never heard of it before this.
Never heard of it. Oh, okay.
I heard the song before, like I heard of the song, but never the movie.
Fair enough.
Sorry, I'm just writing down one that I just thought of as my final like. All right, so obviously this movie's a classic.
Have it on my desk. Have it on my desk by noon. Have it on my desk by noon.
Oh, he's given an example of what he expect goals to those people who are, if you're listening, did you hear that? So growing up, obviously for me, this movie was a classic. Like Vic, I didn't watch it on Channel 11, but I watched it continuously and repeatedly. A little behind the scenes, I actually know people who they're actually in the movie. It wouldn't make sense to point it out because you've never seen those people before and you don't know them, but I know some of those people in the movie. So to me, it is a classic, and I think it's a great movie, and I think it stands up. I'm gonna go back to a couple of different things. I will say this: hear me very clearly. I've never gone to a school like that either. It doesn't mean that they don't exist. And I took that scene when they ripped that girl's shirt off, not to be titillation, right? And that's not no, that's a real word, not to be titillating.
No, I'm looking at something else. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. not for titillation, but because they were trying to humiliate that girl, right? And I took it that those, because the girl, I assume she was Puerto Rican, I assume, because this is in Jersey in the 1980s, right? So I assume she's Puerto Rican, and those black girls who did that in that bathroom, they were coming there and picking on her. The girl wasn't involved with them; she was doing her hair. They came in there and personally accosted her, right? And it's out of jealousy. Now today, you still have segments of that. You have fragments of that in New York City, right? In the tri-state. In the 1980s, of course you had that. This is a reality. So that somebody would do that, being petty, yeah, I think it's true. And they did that. They said, "Oh, you have something better than me, a little bit better. I'm gonna mess it up." The same reason why Kid Ray, he wanted to dress in the suit, because he's, and I'm gonna use the term that they use it in here, and I don't mean this to put down, but poor white trash, as they say, right? And when you don't have anything economically, or so you don't believe you do, you go out and you buy the Jordans whenever a new pair comes out. You do whatever you can to get it. You get the latest system. You get the gold chains. You get the rings because you want to look flashy, because that's the only power you feel you have over your daily.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everything else you believe is outside of the possibility of even existing for you. It's the same thing as talking about unicorns and fairies and stuff like that. So you go out and you floss, right? That's what hip hop in the 90s was. We're actually making money, right? You see this in the latter half of the 80s with Run DMC, right? When they're making these corporate deals, and that's what they do. They start to flaunt their things. So that's what we see, and they're economically probably on the same level, but she had something that they didn't, or her hair was different than hers, and that's why they did that. But I didn't view it as to be titillating, because it was a violating thing. And the thing with the teacher, when they're leaning up on the teacher and everything like that, they had no respect for any of them. Now, this is not the entire student body. Remember, he throws all those kids out and he locks the doors, and that's what ends up being the climax of the film, when he gets caught for having the chains on the doors, right? But he throws those kids out. So they did that, showing that's the ultimate disrespect to do that to anybody, but to do that to a teacher. So that's why I think that was in there. He chained it so that the drug dealers and gang members couldn't come back in and mess with the kids who were actually trying to learn. And because they would, the county wouldn't give them, or the state wouldn't give them the funding to have schools with metal detectors and doors that had locks another way. So that's why they did that. Let me jump into my, and so the thing with Sims, I agree with Chris. Now, backstage, we were teasing Chrissy a little bit because Chrissy is the youngest out of us, and there's nothing wrong with that. She was born when she was born, right? But even in those small amount of years, as we were saying backstage, right, we come from two different generations, let alone our different families, right? But our generations were different. And I'm going to get more into this when we get to my pick later on in this month, not to tease anything, but making a point that when Chris and I were in high school and everything like that, that's how people talk. Especially a man, a true man would talk to a child, a male child, that way. And generally speaking, and this is not against Chrissy, I don't want her to think that it's coming at her or any other woman watching the show. Women aren't used to being spoken to directly. That's not something that males typically do to women. They coddle them in their speech. And what I mean by that is to say how he spoke to Sam's is completely normal for most guys to hear.
Yeah.
But as Chris pointed out, and I would imagine that there might be other women that feel that way, you know, that's abrasive. But it's for us, it's not. This is commonplace. This is everyday thing. And then it could be generational. But I actually did like those things a lot. One of the things in the beginning when they're playing that music, Welcome to the Jungle, towards the tail end of that, they put Sam's in a locker. And Sam's is screaming and everything like that. And the two girls go run to get help. Yeah, I know. And I'm going to say something about that scene because I think some of the script was ad-libbed. Because there's a scene when he goes, "I'm the HNIC," he starts smirking right? And everybody else is just looking like, what is he talking about? So I wonder if that was actually in the script or if Morgan Freeman just did that. But the janitor just goes walking by. He hears the kid screaming for help, and he doesn't care. You know?
That shit was hilarious.
And I liked that because, again, as I always say, I like the realism of things. When you go and when you live or experience chaos, you exist in chaos because that's not living, right? Certain things become commonplace that you don't even pay attention, right? If you pluck somebody from the Midwest and you put them right in the heart of New York City, right? Even if you put them in a nice place, they're going to be like, there's too many people, I'm freaking out, everything like that. They haven't even seen crowded. That's not crowded according to a person who has lived in the city their whole life, right? And if you take somebody who has money and then you make them live on a fraction of that budget, oh, I'm ready to kill myself. You know, so it shows that this janitor, this was so commonplace that nobody's even paying attention to it anymore. Everybody has this spirit of apathy. And that's what I like, that Joe Clark had to come in there and shake that up. And so storytelling wise, I think it was good that they showed that, because you have to establish certain things, because otherwise we would think, why the hell is Joe Clark just screaming like this? We had to see Eastside High in 1967 when he was a teacher there, when he was trying to get a school teachers union started so that they wouldn't have those problems later in the 1980s, which we saw, right? And that's why they were in the situation, because of what he was talking about in the 1960s. I like when Joe Clark got rid of those students. Now, this is not gonna be PC. I'm not a PC person at all. I don't care about being PC. I care about telling the truth. Sometimes you gotta let them go. You gotta scrape off that dross and let them go. Because if we're all in the water, right, and there's a boat there, and you just want to drown, it's not incumbent upon me to risk my life to drag you on the boat. You see the boat, you can swim, you can paddle, you can get on the boat. And as they said, they were doing that for years. So I love that. You got to get rid of them to save those that want to learn. Okay.
That's an interesting euphemism you just said there, Mr. Best. Is it possible that you were, did you get that from the Book of Rose?
The Book of Rose? I don't know. What is
yes, that? Rose from the Titanic.
No. I'm just saying, like, for instance, people use the analogy. If you saw somebody drowning, right? Or you, for instance, drowning in life, okay? They're floundering, or they always are walking out in traffic and not looking to see if there's oncoming traffic, right? Somebody might say for the first time, hey, what are you doing? And they might risk their own selves to help them, to save them, right? But when you know a person and they constantly do that, at some point you have to say to yourself, no, they want to die. They want to get hit. They want to drown. And they will, because of their indifference to their own life, they will do that to you. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not using it for the Titanic reference. I liked Joe Clark, the introduction to the East Side faculty. I love that. I liked, as Chris said, how he established who he was, what his plan of action was, and what he wanted. You know, that way, for me at least, I work better when I know exactly what person wants. There's no discrepancy, there's no confusion or anything like that. So I did actually like that. I like when Kid Ray, says goodbye. And Joe Clark, you see that he actually cares about him, right? And he says to him, what are you doing? If you do this, I know where you. It's not like you're dropping out of school to go work construction. You're dropping out of school to go sell drugs. And if you do that, you're going to die. This is the 1980s. Crime rate is going high. Drug culture is high. So people are dying left and right. He says, if you go out there and you do that, you will die within a year. You have your whole life ahead of you. I love that sequence. I like the back and forth, as Chris says, with Joe Clark and Napier, Dr. Napier, because, again, they are friends. And that, more than anything, is paramount. So they disagreed on plans of action. We talked about this last time. I brought this up when we did X-Men, right? Those are two friends. They're not enemies, and they have different points of view, different philosophies, right? And so we have to get on the same page so that we can both meet this goal that we want to do. And just in case there's any hard feelings, hey, let's go out and break bread after, you know? And as Chris says, sometimes as friends, passions rise. We're humans. Passions are going to rise whether we know one another or not. But we have to reestablish who we are. Let's go out and break bread. That is important. And I love that. assembling the faculty to tell them that 77% of the students failed. I love that, to give them a visual image of what's at stake. Because remember, if the state takes that over, it's not guaranteed. They don't have a teachers union. It's not guaranteed that they have jobs. So if the vice principal is telling the truth and you do care, one, you should care because look how many. Two, look at their future. They're not going to have any future. They're poor kids, right? They're going to be arrested or killed, right? And then three, you're going to lose your jobs. And then the last one was, I like when the students come and they're protesting and Joe Clark, the camera pans over to Joe Clark and he's in the jail cell and he just has his hands behind his bed in his head and he's lying in the bed and he's just smiling because he loves it. You know what I mean? Not because it's anarchy, but because the kids are actually learning, you know what I mean? And they're taking control of their power. And when a person realizes that they have power and agency, they become incredibly powerful, no pun intended. Mm-hmm. And I love that he loved that because, as he says, these are my children. So that was my best of. I didn't say any worse of because I don't have any. I like this movie.
All right. Where is it? Hold on. There we go. Voila. Thumbs up.
No, I waited till my turn because I know before in the past I would just jump in. And I want people to be able to say what they wanted to say. So that's why I waited to do that before I even started on my best stuff. But even in the rebuttal, as you say, I wanted to address what I liked about those scenes. You know what I mean? So that explains it. But we're going to go to commercial, I believe, because we're over time. And then we're going to come back to quotables.
Who the hell are you?
Call me Lightning.
Kind of like the Lightning name. I mean, I don't have like an affinity to it, but the Lightning name, I like because it's a play on Black Lightning, and also, too, she has the same powers as Black Lightning, so it's fitting.
I agree with her.
It's basic. She's a basic bee with that name.
It was lazy. It definitely was lazy. So
yes.
It's coming across as
corn.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's how, it was lazy, so it's coming across this way.
Lazy writing. They could have did something else.
Wait. Don't blame the writers. They're going by the source that has been handed to them. So you blame DC.
The comic book writers, lazy writing with that name. Shame on you.
Marvel.
What about what?
Voltage.
Voltage. That would have been cool. I'm down with Voltage. Actually, I like that. Voltage. High Voltage because she's more powerful.
High voltage. Yeah, word up. That would have been fire. High voltage.
You've always had everything, while people like me have had nothing. Well, now it's my turn. Get used to it.
All right, and we're back, guys. So we will be continuing our trip down Marvel or DC, because we did DC before, and then they want to come out with a new one after we finish, but we're going back for it with Wonder Woman 84. But that's coming up later. For this episode, we'll be talking about Lean on Me, and we're going straight into quotables.
Don't you wish we were doing that movie now?
I do. I really do.
No, because we started Lean on Me.
Yeah.
Lean on Me is great.
Okay.
This was your pick. What are you talking about? You wish we were doing that movie now. That makes no sense.
You haven't seen the movie yet, have you?
I have seen the movie. I saw it when it first came out.
I'm talking about wishes and just making a joke about a wish. Don't take things so literally. Don't take things so literally. Okay?
Quotable.
Hey.
I have no idea where we're going. All right, quotables.
We are going to quotables. So I'll go first. All right, so I had a couple written down.
Hold up. First of all, speaking of taking things, and speaking of the 1980s, Charmaine Ron is not here. I know you saw him in a commercial, but it was a commercial, so he's not here. So stop taking drugs. That's one. Two. In pre-production, James did ask if he can go first for quotables, which I granted. So we're going to let him go first.
No, I'll go last. I'll just repeat them. If they say them, I'll repeat it. Go ahead.
Well, you know, Klepto's about to steal everybody's.
Oh, I know.
I'm not. I don't think I am. I wrote down a couple, but I don't think I'm going to say.
You heard the HNIC, so you can go ahead and do it. But hold on, I want to read this comment from Andrew Higgins before you start. When Freeman says he wants every dealer, addict, pimp, etc., rounded up and thrown out, I think we all wish it was that easy, and that is 100% true.
Facts.
Especially in Hyattsville. All right, go ahead, Klepto.
Southeast. Really? Really?
Right.
By the way,
Chris went to this school. That's why he likes it so much.
Here's how you know it's that easy. Because if they wanted to, they could get the drug dealers, but the drug dealers are the ones with money.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones giving it to the middlemen. The middlemen are the ones that your dealers are buying it from. Did you know that, Andrew? The middlemen are the ones that your dealers are buying. That means that you're way low on the totem pole. And here's how you know they could. Here's how you know they could do it. Here's how you know they could do it. Because I know you want to go for the but here's how you know they could do it. Because we went to the moon in 1969. Or, I don't know, maybe because we have thousands and thousands of children locked up in cages, and somehow they were able to do that, but they aren't able to track down where the drugs and the drug money is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just saying that if you can go to a foreign body in outer space, right? In 1969, if you can round up tens of thousands of children and separate them from their parents today, why can't you track money, which we know they do and have done because money has serial numbers on it? So it's all a matter of will, and they don't have the will to do it. So this movie showed you that you can do it if you had the will to actually do it.
Facts.
Quotables, Chrissy, take it away.
All right, so my first quotable is going to be, I don't think anyone chose this one. It says, "We don't want a good principal. We want Mr. Clark."
Nice. Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
That was Sam's. That was awesome.
And nobody else wrote that down, I'm sure, because y'all.
I have it right here. I'm crossing it out.
Oh, okay.
I'm
I was about to say,
allegedly.
Nah, I didn't pick that because I felt like that was too obvious.
And I have a couple more, but I feel like someone else is going to pick these. So, do I just want to do it? Do I just want to be?
Yeah, just do it.
Okay, so here we go.
I'm not an alcoholic. I drink water. All I drink is water, an occasional cocktail.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they call me Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Great quote.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down a really long one. I'm not going to say that for the sake of time. So we are going to go on to whoever would like to go next.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sam. I only have one. Go ahead.
Okay, I got a few. Okay,
all right.
So, all right. We sink, we swim, we rise, we fall, we meet our fate together. I like that one. This is an institution of learning, ladies and gentlemen. If you can't control it, how can you teach? Discipline is not the enemy of enthusiasm. And lastly, this is a quote from the real Joe Clark, because one thing that happened after this, after he got all famous, Time Magazine, Arsenio, on a whole bunch of talk shows, like he tried to take his platform and kind of try to like take this whole thing nationally. And this is one of the things that he had said. There's no reason for Black kids or Spanish kids not to be able to compete intellectually with anyone. And I loved him for that. And yeah, there's a lot more, but I wanted to be specific with my shit because I knew somebody was going to pick, the head nigga in charge. So one of y'all, I don't want to.
No, those are great quotes. I especially the last one. I never heard that. I would have thought to use them real quick. Good job. Who's next?
James gonna go. Yeah, James gonna go last. I'll go. Here's my quote from this movie. We all have, sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but we are fine. We know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. That is how I live my life, because no matter what I'm going through, and no matter what is happening to me or what's burning down around me, if you or any other person I legitimately care about, I'm about to mute you, Vic. I'm about to be. But if there's anybody that actually needs my help, I'm going to be there. I will do anything in my power to help you, and you will not know even if it's hurting me. But that's one. I actually have three. I was wrong. While you go ahead and you church in the background, Vic, here's another one I like. This is from my scene that Chrissy did not like. At lunch in the cafeteria, Clark has singled out Sam. So I want all of you to take a good look at this sloppy boy as an example of how not to dress. I've done that. Not to dress. Where's David at? David! David! Okay, he's not here. Well, he's asleep. Now, if you look like this in the morning, find some other clothes to wear. Self-respect permeates every aspect of your existence. If you don't have respect for yourself, you're not going to get it from anyone else. I repeat, if you don't have respect for yourself, you're not going to get it from anyone else. Once again, if you don't have respect for yourself, you're not going to get it from anyone else. These are words that These are words that I live by. You call it arrogance, I call it confidence. Why? Because I respect myself, I respect my actions, and I respect every single thing that I do. So I wanted to make sure that I highlight that quote because, ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly how I feel about life. Go ahead. James, take it away.
Forget about the way it used to be. This is not a damn democracy. We are in a state of emergency, and my word is law. There's only one boss in this place, and that's me, the HNIC. Love that line. Great line. This is Sam's on the roof with Joe Clark. At the end, I was going to read the whole thing. Can I just read the beginning of what he says? What have you been thinking about all this time? That alone is pure me. I love that. What have you been thinking about all this time? Because here he is. I want to get back in school now. I don't want to be on crack anymore. And Joe Clark is saying, really now? What is it that you've been thinking about all this time? I love that. But he goes, all right, Sams, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back on my own word just this once and let you back into my school because you're still a baby and you don't know shit. Factual, so true, loved it. When he talked to Kid Ray, dropping out on me, huh? You'll be dead in a year. You hear what I'm saying? You'll be dead in a year. Mr. Clark, I gotta go. That is a very sad scene for me. I don't know. I hope he lives. I want to look it up to see if that person, if there was a real person or if they just created that character for the movie. But hopefully he's alive and well. But he cared about it, you know, and we see that throughout the course of this movie. He cared about the kids, you know. I like when Mrs. Barrett was in with the mayor, and the chief was basically made like a racist remark, right? They're all savages anyway. And the mayor goes, I want to apologize for the chief's language, Mrs. Barrett. I don't like none of you people. That's pure New York. I know it's in Jersey, but it's so true. I don't give a damn. I don't like any of you anyway. I'm here for my own reasons, and I'm using you. So it was so true to life. I got a whole bunch more, but I'm just gonna. Oh wait, I gotta say this one. All I gotta do is stay black and die. Love it, love it. I have used that, as Chris says. He likes to use quotes in real life. I have seen this movie countless times, and when people tell me to do something, I was gonna say, I'm so serious. I was gonna use a colloquialism, but I am so serious that I've said all I gotta do is stay black and die. Mm-hmm. When I said it. This is
that line went far. Like I've heard that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've heard that in a lot of TV shows and other movies, and like, ooh, that went real far.
Morgan Freeman said that to me one day when I asked him for his autograph. This is Joe Clark, and he's talking to the students right before they take the exam in the auditorium. Right. I want to tell you what the people out there are saying about you. By the way, I got to say that he uses some language. I'm not going to use the words. I don't like to do that, so I'll just abbreviate them, okay? Mm-hmm. I want to tell you what the people out there are saying about you and what they think about your chances. They say you are inferior. You're just a bunch of N-words, a bunch of pejorative for Spanish or Latino, and a bunch of poor whites, okay? Education is wasted on you. You cannot learn. You're lost. I mean all of you. I want all the white students to stand up. All my white students, stand up right now. These are my white children, and they're the same as all of you. They've got no place to go. If they had, they would have abandoned you a long time ago, like everybody else did, but they couldn't. So here they are, Eastside High, just like the rest of us. Are you getting my point, people? Is it beginning to sink in? We say, and this is what I forget who put this. I think this was Vic. We sink, we swim, we rise, we fall. We meet our fate together. This is I resonated with me because, you know, as I said, talking about X-Men and everything like that. If you know me in real life, you know that I'm very political. These are the things that that Martin was talking about when he was doing his Poor People's Campaign, when he was up in the Appalachians, when he was talking to poor white America, right before he was murdered in that hospital, not at the hotel. So these are the things. When you realize that there is no difference, we're all in the same boat, to use the Rose quote, right, as Chris brought up. And it's the people that have money and power that have kept you out and then stratified us. When you realize that, then you begin to have agency over your fate, and you take pride in yourself, as Chris brought up before, and then you have your power. When you know your power, you're unstoppable. And I don't mean in the chaotic sense, as it was brought up early in this episode that we saw yesterday, right? But I mean in true power and going through the right channels, because we have the numbers and we have the power and we have the agency to do it. And as Vic quoted Joe Clark, there's nothing that we can't do. So I just love that, because it's so true to life. It's very true. We see it time and time again, and try to be squashed time and time again. I want to read two more, just if you'll allow me. Call it, instead of quotable, soliloquy. If you do know better, this is after he kicked out like 2/3 of the kids, right? If you do know better than they did, next time it will be you. They said the school was dead, like the cemetery it's built on. But we call our East Side teams ghosts, don't we? And what are ghosts? Ghosts are spirits that rise from the dead. I want you all to be my ghosts. You are going to lead our resurrection by defying the expectation that all of us are doomed to failure. My motto is simple. If you do not succeed in life, I do not want you to blame your parents. I do not want you to blame the white man. I want you to blame yourselves. The responsibility is yours. You are here for one reason only, to learn, to work for what you want. The alternative is to waste your time, very key, and to fall into the trap of crime, drugs, and death. Does everyone understand that? Do all of you understand me? I love that. Again, we don't really hear men talk nowadays. Nowadays is couched in as what I call PC language and what's comfortable for everybody. Sometimes you need a man to talk to you. Old school. You know what I mean? That's not sugar-coated. He talks just like everybody else does on the street, not like the people on TV. And when you hear somebody speaking your language, who is in a position of power, who speaks the same way that you all do, that you hear everybody who are real people who you respect do that, then you begin to listen. And when he said that, at first, at the beginning of that scene, even the good kids, quote unquote, he didn't have their attention or their respect. When he began talking to them, when he called them ghosts, when he said, I want you to lead the resurrection, he said, I'm giving you power. You have it. If you tell, especially with children, if you give them goals, they can meet it.
Yep.
And I just love you give them goals, you give them expectations. You see what I'm saying? And then I'm going to help you. I'm going to walk with you through it. I love that. Last one, as I said, imbue, to taint, to stain. The cancer of racism imbues our national character. It stains the spirit. It taints the soul. It is a blot, a shameful, greasy spot on the fabric of our national conscience. Imbue, to taint, to stain. Quotable.
Oh, in the beginning of the You know, to piggyback on that, one thing that I really liked was when he was walking down the hall and he said, "What's in that locker, Malachi?" Malachi says, "My future."
Yes,
that was awesome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Unpopular Review. We are reviewing Lean on Me. If you have not done so yet, please make sure you like, love, and share this video, and subscribe to us on YouTube. I have one more quotable as I was listening to James and said, hey, there's another quotable. I want to get on this 20-minute quote rant. I got this one for you. Now, let me tell you something. The trouble with being a teenager is you don't know nothing. The problem with teenagers is that you think you're smarter than people who've already been doing the road you're traveling. You know what I'm trying to say, boy? I say this to all these young people, these young whippersnappers. That's why here's one right there. I say all this young whippersnappers because they're annoying. All right, Damian Jones asks, What's your thoughts on the Mets getting Lindor and Carrasco?
I love it.
Okay, that would be the New York Mets, Damien. We talk about baseball right now. Pay attention to UPR Baseball, which is about to open up in a couple weeks, starring Dylan Kaplan and Peter. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our next segment, which will be the recasted. This is people's favorite segment.
What do you all think about something random?
Where we recast, in this case, a host, James. We'll recast a scene, a title, or a person to see if we can do it a little bit better. I don't have that meaning for this movie, but I didn't really want to go first. I can if you want me to. Does anybody volunteer to go first for their recasting?
Okay.
Go first.
Okay, it looks like it's me. All right, so Chrissy, if I can give me a hand on this one. If you could put up a picture of Joe Clark.
Joe Clark. Boom.
Right. Okay. So I'm uploading a picture now, and then as soon as you see it, just go ahead and put it in, because I thought, hey, this guy is very serious. He needs to lighten up. So who have I seen play this character in another movie that can make it a little funnier, a little lighter? And I do highlight the word light, Mr. John Lovett. And why?
I know why you
I
picked
High School
why
High.
Yep.
Oh God.
High School High. Willie School Willie. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is right. And that's because
I'll give you this, Chris.
movie,
I'll give you that one. That was good.
This movie is a prototype for lots of movies to come. As Michael Colon said earlier, this movie started genre 90s with The Principal, Dangerous Minds, and the parody High School High. Classic Morgan Freeman, who is one of my favorite actors of all time. Could do no wrong. And, this movie just was so well casted. And it's not like they did it on purpose, Neelix. It's not like they, that's a Star Trek reference. But it's not like they did it on purpose. But what they did do, I thought they did very well as far as recasting. And we'll talk more about whether I like this movie or not in my final thoughts. But that is my recast. Let me read some of these comments before we go to the next person, which will be Vic. Schools since the 90s have left a lot of kids in the dark to fail. Sick thing is, every generation of Americans continue to complain about the decline of society. It should start with the schools and a lack of caring. They are the root of the problem. Mr. Clifton Brown says that my favorite part of this movie is the ending. Okay. Damian Jones says Chris Harris as Joe Clark. I saw a lot of myself in Mr. Joe Clark. Victor Nash says, really? Andrew Higgins says, recast Reverend Cain Poltergeist.
See, I told you he's going to be back. He's coming back.
Tomfoolery. Sorry, my favorite other part of the movie is when the students standing up for themselves. Vic, go ahead, take it away with your recast.
Okay, so let's see here. All right, well, it is very, very difficult to recast this movie. Very, very difficult. Like, literally, the only person that I could change this with is the actual Joe Clark. Yeah, that's the only person that you can actually fit him in there with, because that's the only thing that actually makes sense for Morgan Freeman to actually be Joe Clark. So now the other person that I have is this guy right here. So this guy was like one of the biggest villains
hold on, pause.
In this movie.
Pause. I gotta get the button ready because I know it's coming. All right, go.
Yeah, you stupid. So now, for some reason, and honestly, like, he really pissed me off when he started calling people savages and things like that. And I'm sure that this guy that I'm going to recast him with says these types of things all the time. And, especially now that he's just become a minority himself.
Move, bitch. Get out of the way.
So, yeah. He really
this guy's
reminded
your
me.
favorite recasted.
He would think.
Anytime he sees a Caucasian villain in a movie, an old Caucasian villain, here comes Mitch McConnell. I swear to goodness.
Who is the oldest, biggest Caucasian villain next to Donald Trump? Who?
Well, you got a point. Yeah, well, the logic is sound. But okay, I can get behind that. I can always get behind these Mitch McConnell recasts.
Don't you smoke crack, Trump? Don't you smoke crack? Who wrote that? That was hilarious.
Vic,
All
are you
right, so
ready?
anyway,
Vic,
yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
Steve Shapiro,
Okay.
go ahead.
So I have one recasting. Actually, I had two, but I couldn't find the image I wanted for this person. But so I shortened it to one. But this woman right here, the vice principal, whole time I was looking at her, I was thinking, hold on, her whole demeanor and everything. I said, I know who can play this role. And I think they kind of, I'll talk about it later, but boom, Lynn from Black Lightning.
Oh, wow. Oh, man, I didn't want to do that, but I was thinking Black Lightning the whole. Wow.
See? That's
yeah,
I was like, I thought
see
you were going
it.
to steal mine because, we do Black Lightning together. But I said, this woman, recast her with
Yeah,
Lynn.
there's mad Black Lightning vibes in this
Yes,
movie.
it is.
Okay,
Even with Jefferson
okay.
Pierce. Very much so.
Of course. That's probably where they got it. We'll talk about that on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is my recasted, no tomfoolery bomb, just Lynn right here. So my one and only.
I can actually agree with that one. I'm not going to call you tomfoolery for that one. That was not bad. That wasn't bad. Yes, her name was Beverly Todd. All right, HNIC.
I feel like that recast was akin to as the what is it? As the World Turns, Days of Our Lives. I have no idea who that is. I have to start watching that show. I don't know who that is.
You didn't watch our Black Lightning episodes?
Hold up.
No.
Don't disrespect As the World Turns. Do not disrespect Days of Our Lives. All right?
I didn't disrespect it. I said I feel like it's akin to that in that I don't watch those shows.
Fun fact, Morgan Freeman came from another world.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is
It's
either.
a soap opera. Y'all never heard of Another World?
No, never.
Wasn't he? He was on a kid show. He was on Electric.
No, he was from
Is he
another
still
world.
an old man?
You know what? It's crazy because like if Chris
He
was
in
Hispanic, he'd be all up in the novelas.
Novella, yes.
Yeah, he'd be all up in the novelas. Like
That's
my
why he likes
"Oh,
wrestling too.
I think he was in like a 70s. I forget the name of the movie or show or whatever like that.
He was in Another World in 1978. He was in Another
Never heard of
World.
it.
Okay.
Heard of As the World Turns. Was that like another
Wait,
movie
does
before they
Chris
changed
get
the name?
that little magazine that's like Jet magazine?
Julianne Moore.
Little
Julianne
soap
Moore
opera?
came from As the World Turns. Julianne Moore.
You get the little magazine that comes to people's houses that says soap. With all the soap
It's called Soap Opera Digest. It's called Soap Opera Digest. And yes, I used to read that.
I'm telling you, wrestling and soap operas have a lot in common. It's like soap operas are like wrestling's like soap opera for girls.
What are you talking about? Ain't nobody
Wrestling and
jumping
soap
off the
operas
top
are
rope
very
and
much
doing
the
a swan
same. You
pound
just
down.
add in some fighting.
That-
Like I was talking to the bad guy about it.
In the
okay.
in the early 2000s, this man actually did hire head writers from soap operas to write his storylines.
See?
That's a fun fact. That's a fun fact. James, can
the
you go with the
off-the-wall
recast?
storylines, the
See,
bad
I
acting.
gave you credit. Don't do that. Do not do that. I gave you credit for not having some tomfoolery before you recast it. Now, can James go with his tomfoolery, okay? Because right now you're on your tomfoolery. Do not insult soap operas, young lady.
I just gave you
go ahead,
facts.
HNIC. I'm about to give you facts, Casper. Go ahead, HNIC.
Okay.
Well, the theme for
acting was
tonight's
just as
episode is random, and I'm confused as hell. But this is recast.
The nerve.
And the first one I wanted to put up was Maria.
Yes, Damien. Oh, okay.
What?
I was talking about the comment that someone just put up.
Oh, you're not talking about the recast.
No.
Everybody,
James,
let's focus. So, hey, thanks, Vic. Your enthusiasm is great. So I can only imagine what it's like on other people's picks. But anyway, this is Maria. And I was thinking to myself, who can I recast her as? You know, I do my recast based on what they look like. They remind me of somebody else who they look like. What'd you say, Chris?
Could you get a more unflattering picture of this woman?
I tried to find another picture from her in the movie, but I couldn't find a lot of pictures from Lean on Me. But she's actually, I didn't know this because I don't watch this show, but she's actually in Orange is the New Black. And most of her pictures, when you pull up the actress's name, they're for Orange is the New Black and not Lean on Me. But this was her in Lean.
Word?
Sorry about the pixelation. Yeah.
She did look familiar, but wait, what?
She looks like she belongs in Orange is the New Black. That's what's wrong with that picture.
Oh, you're with us? Okay. So this is Maria, and I couldn't find somebody that I wanted to recast it with, but then I was thinking about other people in the movie that I wanted to recast. This is Mrs. Barrett. She's always got an opinion, always giving it. And I thought to myself, who is that? And then I was like, that's Chrissy. And so I recast Maria and Mrs. Barrett, the combination, like if they did a fusion technique or they put on the rings, they would be Chrissy. And that's who Chrissy is. She's a fusion of Maria and Mrs. Barrett. And that's her. That's the joke one. But really, when I see Mrs. Barrett, when I see Mrs. Thigpen, the only person that she will be for me, because I grew up watching the show and I loved it and I was geeky growing up and nerdy and everything like that, was the chief from Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Word.
I loved her in that role. Wow. And I always wanted to be on that game show. It was on PBS. I always wanted to be on that show because I always knew where the capitals were and everything. It was so cool, very geeky and everything like that. Next up, let me bring up my boy Kid Ray. You know, I said he had a touching scene. And again, sorry, it's far away. We can't see him. But look at him in this nice suit, huh? Got the medallions, got them chains on and everything like that. This is a close-up picture. I didn't want to do that because he has the Band-Aid on his nose. Apparently, Band-Aids can cure broken noses or something like that. I don't know what's going on with that. I thought to myself, who could that be? Well, at first I thought, because Kid Ray was selling drugs, that was Mr. White. I don't have a picture of Mr. White, but he knows who he is. But then I thought to myself, no, that's not. Kid Ray is not Mr. White. That's ridiculous. He was in Die Hard. Kid Ray is David Sanderson. I said, David, I didn't know you were in this movie the whole time. But shout out to you, David Sanderson. Next up is Mrs. Elliott. Mrs. Elliott right here.
He came out like 10 years before he was born.
Mrs. Elliott right here. Look at her. She got something to say. All that spice. At first, she was going to be Silhouette. Silhouette is her superhero name. I call her Karen. Today she'll be called Karen in this generation. She had a little spice to her, but that's what I liked about her. But Mrs. Elliott here, who knew that she was going to go to a recital. I just know, Mr. Clark, and you need to talk to me. And even though I'm your subordinate, I'm going to talk back to you. And Mr. Clark looked at her like, say word. But you know who that reminded me of? B. Arthur.
Oh, Dorothy. Yes.
Well, that's her. Well, yeah, this is Golden Girls, but Maude and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold up. Wait a minute. Chrissy, you've never seen Golden Girls?
I've heard of the show. It's just not something that I've sat down and watched. No.
Oh,
this is random
man.
part 3. This is random part 3. Take your time.
You gotta watch.
Granted,
listen,
it
I'm
wasn't
gonna tell you
on when she was a child. It wasn't on when she was a child. Like, what's the odds of her going back and really watching it? Because we don't. How many shows came on? Yeah, you like.
Listen,
well, you were born back then, so of course you're going to watch.
If anything,
this is why.
He's the same age as me. Don't do that.
And
if anything, look, just Google.
Been born in the 50s, I guess. Anyway, to the 10-year-old, please be quiet.
Sophia.
Next up, Vic, you want to yawn one more time for us?
Sure.
Drug dealer. I couldn't find his name, but he's the drug dealer. In this pivotal scene, he pulls out a switchblade and he tries to get Joe Clark armed only with the mega horn. Okay,
he gets the ugliest pictures of these people.
That's what he says. And I said to myself, who does this drug dealer, this unnamed drug dealer, look like? Who does that look like?
Malachi
Tretch.
Oh, word.
That's what it looked like to me. So I had to recast him. Now, last but not least, and this is going to be controversial, but not to me, not to those who know me. I said I got to put up Joe Clark. Now, the picture that everybody was using was not the thumbnail that they've been using for years, but the picture that I put up there.
Here we go.
For Joe Clark. That's right. Here we go, 10-year-old. All right. You know what, Andrew? Maybe you're right. Hot Lips would have been pretty good for that one too, but it looked like B. Arthur. That's why I picked it. But this is Joe Clark. Now, this is the scene when Joe Clark first comes in there, and I guess it's the assistant to the assistant vice principal, and he's like, oh, we have these hand drawings and these coloring books that the kids made, and he's telling them all this extra stuff, and the school looks like shit. And Joe Clark is just listening to him for 30 seconds, and that's the expression that Joe Clark has on his face before he just yells at them and shows the full force of his foot up all of their anuses. And I love that. And I said, who does this expression remind me of. I said, damn it, if I'm not Joe Clark. And I know Chris says he's Joe Clark, and I've seen him. He's also been the emperor. He's also been rude as hell to people asking for change on the side of the road by rolling up his window and not giving them eye contact. But listen, it's in the past. We leave it in the past, right? But this expression,
Right?
anybody who knows me knows that I have always had people talk to me. I have no idea what the hell they're talking about because it makes zero sense, and I shut off my brain. You're not going to waste my life. People who I don't respect, this is the look I give them. And they can't tell if I'm happy, sad, or indifferent. But I'll tell you a secret. I'm mostly indifferent because I'm waiting for you to shut up or realize that you're wasting my time. And that is me as Joe Clark, the HNI. And that was
Interesting. Interesting recasting, everyone. Good job. A lot of thought and preparation came into these, especially the ones where you recasted someone who's already on the show twice with myself and yourself. But
I
okay.
told you she was opinionated.
See, here we go.
See, that's why she got recasted.
Next commercial break. We're going to go on the next commercial break, guys. See you soon.
What do you need, William?
Just your authorization for a special operation, Mr. President.
We've managed to gather evidence of a mutant training facility
In upstate New York.
This facility is a school.
Sure it is. Nobody really knows how many even exist, or how to find them, except you.
My name's Logan.
Marie.
What kind of name is Marie? Like, what kind of name is Marie? Like,
she's
no,
French. Isn't she like?
No, I feel like.
Oh no, that's Gambit.
I feel like I think I understand why she was so attracted to Logan, because Logan is really old. You know, so like, and when I think of the name Marie,
What?
like this is the first person that I think of when I think of the name Marie. Like, there's something about Rose that is so, like, who has this name Marie? Marie is like you know, it's
That's
like
not even an old
Rose.
name. I could say if it was like
That is
Mabel or something.
No. Marie is a very old name. Oh man, that's like Barbara. Oh man. No, okay, but anyway, that just made me think of that, so I put that. But anyway, like, here's my first request.
All right, and we're
Marie
back.
is an old name.
Here we go. We'd like to apologize to all the Barbaras and the Maries in the audience. It's not an old name.
It's like
Maybe
Betty.
Barbara, definitely not Marie. But,
Like Rose and Betty.
but also, yeah, next week we're continuing our journey through X-Men. We're going to do the second film in the franchise, X-Men 2, beautifully named. But right now we are getting into our final thoughts. So I'll go ahead and go first. Final thought about this movie. Again, this is my first time seeing this movie. Never seen it before, never heard about it before. Oh, we're doing this? Okay. Never heard about it before this. I've heard the song before, never heard about the movie. After watching it, honestly, going into the film, I anticipated it to be boring. I just didn't have high expectations for the movie. And that may have played out in my rating of the film. We'll see. But there are a couple things that I liked about the movie, like everyone's mentioned before. I guess this is the beginning of the, flipping, of the bad school, the bad students. They're getting turned into good schools and good students by a teacher coming in and flipping things around. Also, Sister Act 2 might qualify as in that genre too. She came in and she kind of switched everything around. I did enjoy that movie. But back to Lean on Me. Morgan Freeman, he's a great actor. I feel like he did really, really well in this film. And let me just make it short and sweet. I gave this movie a thumbs up. It was enjoyable. I went in there with low expectations. I came out and it was better than I thought it was going to be. So thumbs up. Who's next?
This movie's a classic. Thumbs up. I don't got much to say. I said enough.
Wonderful.
No, because here's the thing. I just saw Andrew Higgins, John Leguizamo as, or Leguizamo, as he says, as Maria. Of course, Tu Wong Fu That's what he's talking about. I want to say my final thoughts on this movie by doing one more quote. I know I was doing a lot of quotes, but here goes the last one. We made too many compromises already, too many retreats. They invade our space, we fall back. They assimilate entire worlds, and we fall back not again. I'm giving this Chris, what's the matter, buddy? I'm giving this movie a thumbs up.
I wasn't even ready because you threw me off with the quote.
What do you know? You don't remember that quote? I'll read it
some
again.
Star Trek.
No, short and sweet, beautiful.
We made too many compromises already, too many retreats. They invade our space and we fall back. They assimilate entire worlds and we fall back.
Entire worlds and we fall back. Again, the line must be drawn here, this far, no further. And I will make them pay for what they've done.
Lord.
I have no idea why James just mentioned the Star Trek First Contact quote.
I've been doing a lot of hard quotes as my final thoughts.
Did you watch the series? Then we'll talk about that in post-production. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my final thoughts. 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb.com. It cost $10 million to make. It made $34 million. $34 million of it came from the United States. Now, here's the thing. Yes, Vic, you have a lot of quotes we're going to make fun of. So, right, here's the thing. Since we started this, and I mentioned this in our best of a couple of weeks ago, we have, since we're picking movies for each other, there's movies that have been picked that I have not seen. And there have been some good ones, like New Jack City, was it Coming to America. There have been some stinkers, like Casper, like Fifth Element. Was not that good to me, right? Yeah, was not good to me. Gave him thumbs down. Wasn't good. Then we come to Lean on Me. Right? And everybody has all these expectations about this movie. And then we have our co-host talking about how good this movie is, right? Then we come to me and I'm like, wow, am I going to get jumped because I don't like this movie? That's a possibility. Do I want to go ahead and give a thumbs up because I want to keep myself from getting jumped? Because everybody seems to like this movie. Positive things about this movie. Morgan Freeman knocked it out the park. Somebody mentioned New York Mets one time. Morgan Freeman did not play on the New York Mets because he actually was doing some business, right? He played this character well. He owned this role. He stole every scene he was in. I like the fact that he showed him one way. He pretty much stayed that same way, but he did it with progression. He did it with evolution. He learned to incorporate the things that work and adjust the things that did not work to make sure that he still achieves the goal that he set. And what he said resonates to today, but that was the real life portion of that movie. It was a movie though. So there were a lot of things that were not well done in that movie, such as the kid. Did he live? Did he die? We don't know. The way he speaks to people and the way they reacted was not good. The song at the beginning of the movie was not good. The woman singing Lean on Me, which is a good song, was not good. So thumbs up or thumbs down for me? It's a thumbs up. Of course it was a thumbs up. This is a very well done movie. Loved it. Loved every scene. I actually wouldn't mind watching again. This is possibly one of my favorite movies that they've been recommended for me to watch. And that is the complete and utter truth. I will recommend this movie to anybody, no matter how old you are, no matter what color is your skin, or no matter what planet you are from. I will recommend this movie. It was a good movie. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Unpopular Review. Lean on Me edition. If you have not done so, please go ahead and hit that like button. Please go ahead and hit that love button. Please go ahead and hit that share button. And more importantly than all of that, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel or follow button on our Facebook channel. Hey, do all of the above. But for HNIC, for Sam's, for C the Superior, I am the Executive Consultant. Thank you so much for watching us. Sam's, take us home.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching another edition of Unpopular Reviews. And I just like to end it by saying once again, Joe Clark, rest in peace. Thank you for all your influence. And yeah, have a great evening. Yeah.
Good night.